Hi, welcome to Bunny Designs. I just thought sorry, Alfie's been sat in my chair by the window, and somebody's opened a bonfire, so it's a bit. It's made him sneeze, bless him. So I've been working in my books. I've repurposed a pencil case that I bought for my daughter quite a while ago now, while she was doing her O-levels, and she's 20 in May, so that's quite old. But I've repurposed it. And things I've bought for the craft things as well, I've found and I've repurposed. So I'll do a bit of a tour later on, but I've got my main things in here that I want to use. I haven't used them yet. I've been through all the all my drawers and things, and I've found lots and lots of things, including sorry guys, it's just going to be a minute. I've just made a smoothie for the girls. Oh, sorry guys, I'd forgotten. I put it on silent for hubby because hubby came in. Sorry guys. So this was a 2-inch. I think it was a 2-inch ring binder, and it was a Swarovski Compliments fake, because they used to make 4 ring binders. And all I've done is I've made the book with a bit of rubbish cardboard as a front and a back, and done the Copic stitch. Now I will take it out and show you. And I've used some sketchbook paper, and so I've kept the edge, and it's just very roughly torn. And what that's done, instead of seeing that ugly cardboard, I put the ugly side in and the nice crisp edge on the outside. So when I am flicking, I've got a nice edge. I'm not going to stick it in because it's not permanent. But one thing I've learned from this this Covey, this was a 2-inch Franklin Covey ring binder, and I've used it to make my beautiful thick 1,200 pages I've got in this one. But what I've done is, where this is the beginning of the book, it had a bit of a dip, so it will slide across and go flat. But then I just thought this was better. So if you take, because this is completely 850 degrees, 80 degrees, if you take a signature, you can flip it right round, and what that gives you is, this is the back of the book, this is the middle of the book, and this is the middle of the book, and I've put a few leaves down there to anchor it, and a couple of signatures in that one to anchor it. And I'll show you how I did that. But that means that for the moment, this is flat. I open it, it's flat. I shut it, zip it up. And I'll show you what I've got in here a bit later. But this was going to be, this is, again, the square paper. So I got about 4 or 5 books out of one leaf, one squared pack. And I think you can get those from the supermarket. And then this is the layout paper, which at the moment is about £18 for a big A2 size. And then you can cut it down to 3, cut it down to 4, and then fold it in half, and this becomes a half. So you don't want to cut your A4 in half, you are folding. But it's cheaper to do that. So this particular one, I've still got half of it left, and I've made this book with 1,200 pages and alternated them because it's layout paper. So when you lay it over the top, you can see the squares. So I love this. I've found lots of Filofax plastic inserts which fit lovely, and the nicest thing is that they actually fit over the squares. So you could use them as a little template to highlight when you're doing your times. Now in this, I did it first, and I did a little bit of what I was going to do, and then I've changed my mind and I'm using this book differently. So that's going to go here, and then if you want to use it at the edge, turn that in, because it's very rare we draw right in the corner, but that now gives me a very nice stiff paper to work on. So that was the 2-inch one, and there's a couple of videos of how carefully to take out the ring binders of a ring binder. Now this one, if I take this out, if I bend it like this, you'll see. Now it's very roughly done, but I was so excited about this because we'll take that out and you can see how it's made. So this is how it was, and I put 2 holes here. Didn't bother me because I'm not going to see it because I've got my homemade books in it. I've got my rotary pen. I found a little bit of film that actually works brilliantly, and you'll see that in here. I found the Filofax, actual Filofax things I use for markers, but I also use them because I do have in here. But the nicest thing about this is I'd love a Hobonichi cover with a Hobonichi cover on cover, and it is very roughly done, but I'm going to stick wider sellotape and fold it in when I have more time, and then it will just make this washi tape stick better, because as I say, plastic on plastic sticks really well. But what I've actually done, and I made a bit of a pig's ear of this, but it didn't bother me as such because I just wanted to cover it because it disintegrated. It's very old, this. But I used a plastic, I have some 12 by 12 coloured paper, and I've got to whisper actually because I'm outside. I'm inside, but I've got the window open. And I've got 12 by 12s, and some of them come in plastic wrapping, and this is the plastic wrapping. And I cut like you do when you're wallpapering round the light switch. I just cut across and then squeezed my little flower through, and I've got a cover on cover, and it feels yummy. It's not very clean for the simple reason I've had it on a tray that wasn't flat, and if you can see, I've got dimples, so I'm a little bit upset about that, but I love the feel of this cover on cover. But I could never afford to buy, when my husband's retired now, could never afford to buy a Hobonichi with a cover and a cover on cover, so I absolutely love it. I am going to look for some plastic that I like, that I can then make a nicer one, but because this was very old and was disintegrating, I think I've got a bit of a video of me doing it, and you'll see it's kind of bitty because it's very old. I've had it 20 years, if not more. I only paid a couple of pounds for it. I bought it as a car boot sale, but I absolutely love the feel of it. So if I open it up, and in this particular book, I only want my rotary pin, and you'll see why in a second. So it's a one book, one pen wonder, and I really like that. So if I just get these. So what I did, now if there's a video of me, I think, finishing it off, it's just the Copic stitch, and I've used the actual, that was the original card from the back of the square paper. So it just comes in a sheet with a bit of a flap over the front. But the nicest thing now is it doesn't matter where I am in this book. Sorry, I'm getting a bit dirty. So we're here now. So if you see, you could put a book underneath it. I've normally put a book underneath it because it's not going to be flat. Now this particular one will go flat, but my other one is I've got bubbles and things in here. So what you do is you find a signature, and they're all a little bit, because you've got about an inch. You come in about an inch to the first one. So that's the end of a signature, and you flip it. And then you can lay it flat. And now I have a perfectly flat surface to work on. And all I need to do is to take a few, probably one signature, and slide that into there. And then I slide the other one, another signature, into there. And then position it back in the middle again. And then when I open it, the back's here. The back is now almost in the middle. But what that means is when I open it, I now have, I think that's where we are, Wednesday. I have a flat surface to work on. And that's always quite nice. And all I have to do is, when I get to about here, I'd probably take a few out and just wind it round. So it's almost like a perpetual thing. Now, the reason I was so excited, so I've done that with that one, and I've also made this one, which has got 800 pages. And I decided to make this one of all layout paper, because if you had 800 pages, like the Franklin Covey one, that's got 1,200. This is half, if not a quarter, of the width. This is only about an inch, I think. It's 2.5. It's less than 2.5 it's 2.5 centimeters. Yeah, so it's 2.5 centimeters. It's not, probably just about an inch or so. I don't know if, oh, I've got inches on the back there. Look, there we go. I'm in feet and inches girl, can't help it, sorry guys. An inch. So that's quite amazing, and the reason is it's this layout paper which is very thin. Now this is my everyday, going to be my everyday. Now I've pinned this ready to do because you don't have any lines on it, obviously. I found old Filofax and Polly Pocket plastics that I can use to make a nice flat surface. In fact, I might just take those out and do the same thing. I found a Filofax, I think this is a pocket size, and instead of having it, I'm on a slope, that's why things are moving. I've opened it up and put my different sizes in so I can have little frames. But that's before I found my other frames. So I've made, I'll take these off and we'll start again. I've made here, I've got a 2020 calendar. Now on the other side of that paper is October, November, and December. I decided I wasn't going to bother with January, February, or March. And then on the back, I've coloured in, or I've drawn over it in a dark pen, the squares. So now when I put, and I do have a little plastic one just in case I go through, because I've found lots of pens. I'm still testing. I found hundreds of pens and markers, so I'm still testing. But what that means, and I've written things I've done, and it's more of a journal diary and an everyday journal. Like Alfie woke me up every day last week. So if I put that behind there, at the moment you can't see anything, but if I put that behind, you can now see the squares. And so I use a couple, again, I've found lots of Bible journal that I bought in Ireland probably about 5 years ago. Lots of Bible journaling things which work really well. And that will hold this. And that will stand all day. I know it's fiddly. It's only because it's moving. So that's going to be all day. Whoopsie. I suppose if you wanted, seeing as we're in isolation, you could make it do longer. And again, the thing I did is there's another poly thing there. There's another, this is the pocket size. This is the personal size, beg your pardon, which is A4. I did find so exciting. I found another smaller stencil, and that's got really tiny things in. What else have I got in here? I think I've taken everything out at the minute because I've just put everything into another pot. So if I work on this basis, yes, it will go flat because that squashes because it's all stitched. But it's not as nice because if I put things in here. So again, this is how this is made, and you'll see this one being made. So again, you'll see the holes. So I bought this Filofax. I thought it was a Filofax actually, but maybe it wasn't. But I thought it was. It's a Roxy, and I love it because it's all sealed. So again, I can put that pen, my rotring pen, and I do have another one. I do have about 4 or 5 of this size. So that goes in there. I just can't get it in at the minute. So that goes in and it fits perfect. So again, it's one pen. And this is the pen that I've been working with. So I can do a bit of border if I want. So if you can see that, that's 800 pages. So what I'm going to do is take that and again, find a signature. So this was made with, again, a little bit of cheap cardboard at the back. That was obviously the book binding. It was a refill of this paper. And again, this is made this size by just cutting the A3 and then folding them again to make an A4. So I've got 2 A4s. And I think these are the ones that have 20 pages. These have 20 pages. And I have cut this one. Sometimes I like this to be rough, but I've cut it. So there's 800 pages here, and I just really love that. So I need to be about here for my next page. So I'm going to take the signatures and kind of put that across there. And work out that that's probably about right. There's actually a little bit more at that side, so I'm going to take 2 signatures and put it back. Because remember, I will be moving more across. So that's about there. So I'm going to take 1 signature. I might take 2 actually, just for strength. So 2 signatures and slide. So these are the holes where this was a file of fax. So 2 holes in there. Oh yes, Darla. When I went to Ireland, in Bangor we won't be going anymore, unfortunately, because we don't do model shows. But the guy that my husband's worked for well, I've worked for him for 20 years, for nothing. He just decided he's got more staff and he's just dumped hubby. So that's nice of him. But anyway, never mind. So we will be going for day trips. So now it's still in there, but the back of it is now here, which is just behind where I'm working. And again, that's going to be flat. So that's quite nice to work with. And again, I just pushed these on here because I don't need to see the year. And this I had 2 or 3 things in here. And it just acts as a nice paper because this is quite thin paper there. So if I do that, you can see I haven't actually cut. And this is when your thread runs out, you just tie a knot and carry on. And you do the next signature. Sorry, I just wondered what that was. It's my pressure cooker. I put it on. I forgot about it. So so that's my personal one. I'll just take the pen out because I haven't got any ink in the other one. I may have to turn it off actually, guys, because it's going to be annoying. So that's that one. And this is the one I'm at now. So I've used quite a lot of things. Oh, it's turned itself off, I think. I'm just experimenting with lots of frozen vegetables, some herbs and garlic, and a drop of water. So hope it works. I'm still isolated in the bedroom. Although I am sitting by the window listening to the birdies, so that's why you can hear the birdies. I decided I needed some sun, so I tried to sit in the window ledge, and like Ken Dodd says, I get one arm done, and then probably have to go sit at the other side. But the other side, I don't know if you can see, the other side is my kitchen. So I've got a little bit of a kitchen going on down there. And Alfie was near my feet, but he's moved. He's moved a bit. So what I can show you before I go through here, because this is quite exciting, which will lead to that. I'm just going to put these to one side because I don't need them at the minute. Although I do love this. I've just gone back to the flow chart. So these are all the bits and pieces that I found. When I made my little book of watercolors, I used the plastic inserts and kept the cover, which are really good for putting behind papers, either protecting pages. So these are probably don't need to go back in now because I'm not going to be using the back of that one. So I saw this and I knew it was huge, but they said it would be £15 for delivery. This, I'll open it up. See if I can open it a little bit. If you see, look at it, it's all smashed. I was so upset. It's absolutely huge. And I think it's a writing desk, but it's got these kind of things here. So there's this here, and it goes across and down, and then you have this huge expanse with a little bit of a lip here, but it's broken. And when they packed it, the box, I could have got in the box myself. It was humongous, but it didn't have any padding. And I was absolutely heartbroken. So all the screws are missing, all the hinges fell off. There's a little box inside. I can't show at the minute, but I might show a bit later. Inside there's a shelf at the back, and it has a little drawer with a lock on it. That's all smashed off. All the hinges, the screws were in the bottom of the Hermes box. It was put in a box big enough for it to be whole, but there was no padding, there's no packing, so it just bounced about. And I cried when my husband brought it upstairs because this was all smashed off. It's only sitting there because it's actually on its ridge. But I will do a bigger tour, but it's humongous. But it's made me have a space for my journaling. And if I can just show you my desk. So this is what I've been doing. My husband has been bringing me boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes. I do have a chair which I can actually sit on now. I've got my other little thing that I can sit with because I was just sitting in the bed all the time. The printer will be going at the end. So I've got my drawers there, the desk, and then I'm moving the sketchbooks, I think, because I've got quite a lot of books I want to work in, and they're all over the place. Whereas the sketchbooks, obviously, I'm not going to use the newish ones. So these can all go away and just keep the ones that I want. I do have a space for all the Bible journals and the journaling things. And then I've got my drawers there. And then behind me is another set of drawers down there. And then it comes me back to the window, which that's the birdies. That's my view at the minute. So I've opened the window, and my conservatory at the moment, it's nearly empty. I'm emptying it. Just shut that. I don't make everybody sick when I spin that around. So that's where we are at the minute. I've got a few cookery books. I've brought a few cookery books. Are we upside down or right way around? Oh, right way around. Oh, thank you. So I will do a bit of a tour, but I was not getting any. I've got very bad vitamin D anyway, and the arthritis were kicking in. I had every arthritis going. Now that's my messy floor. On the trolley here, we'll have all the journaling things, and then it will be next to me. Those drawers, I think I'll be going underneath. I've got thousands of stamps, so all the stamps will be going in those. It's just I just haven't got round to everything, but I probably sit here and do it rather than sitting in the bed. Alfie is about, but he wakes me up during the night. I've got 1,000. I think I'm going to give those to the Abbey, to the children's tots things, because I've got buttons and beads, but these particular foam things, I'm not going to use them all. I've got thousands of them. The caravan is also full, so I've got to be a bit careful because there we go. We're back now. So that's where we are at the minute, but actually it's quite nice. It's given me another little space, and then, as I said, just in front of me I've got the other journals, so I don't have to go far. And if I didn't have the little laptop there, I would be picking this up and I would have things underneath. So it's going to have the journaling things. So I've picked out a few things. I found a very old ruler from the 60s, and I've scrubbed it, and it's come absolutely amazing. And there's something lovely about an old wooden, especially when it was yours. I found stamps. I'm not sure if I'll use them all, but I've just picked out this particular one. I've only got one like this. I've picked out a couple of blocks that I thought I might use because I found a little set of stamps. And I'm thinking, yeah, might just use those. If my hands are bad and I need a frame, I've got those. I've got a few of my little Bible journal things. I found these that I've obviously bought for making things. And then I realized that if I drew around them, they would make lovely little frames for just doing a little doodle. So they're in there. I have I've drawn round some little wooden butterflies. I've also There it is. Been through thousands of little bits and pieces, ephemera, and all sorts of gungy things, stickers and things, and wood things and metal things. I found these that I've never used, and I've managed to squeeze them into the plastic container of these. I've been trying to find, I found lots of plastic containers. Just put those in there actually, because I will use these little ones. They're all different sizes, so again they make little frames. I'm trying not to buy anything. I've been looking, tempted to buy things. I found an old stamp. I found my distress ink stamp, and I do have an ink for that one. And if I force that up there, I only did this a bit earlier today, that will go in there as well. I found this that I must have bought for the kids, but drawing around it, it's fun. Oh yes, Darla, I will get round to it. As I say, I moved quite a lot of furniture yesterday, so I knew today I was going to be, if it's sunny, instead of having the doors shut and be just working in here and walking through things, I've decided that when it's not sunny, I will be sorting things, and when it's sunny, I'll be sitting here, because I do need a little bit of vitamin D. And I had a lovely day the other day. What else have I got in here? I might take that ruler out because I don't need it. So I haven't quite finished in here, but these little things I've got to draw around. I'm just going to have I put some ice in this. So I was really impressed, because I can't cook for everybody. But I just took some frozen cherries and some frozen berries and whisked them up. And then that's what my husband came up for. So that's how flat it is now. And then we'll turn, obviously, to the beginning. So I'll go through this. I did like this layout. I have 3 pens, which I've taken out of there. In my travels, I found these. I must have bought them for the girls, and the girls will give me them back. So they're metallic, and they don't go through, but they show through. So this one was made, remember, it's not the thinnest paper, so I wouldn't use it on that. This is printer paper, so it shows through, but it doesn't go through. And so I'm using, this is just ordinary printer paper. This was the book I wanted to make that didn't cost anything. So you could make it all with printer paper, you could make it with lined paper and just draw lines down to make it squared. Use what we've got. That's what I want to do. So that's what I've been trying to do, but obviously the little rat bag's been keeping me up. And as you'll see, this was supposed to be, I did a year, and then I did the months like this. So I decided I didn't need a month one, because I've already got one. So if I'm going to the hospital, I'd do hospital if I've got whatever. Then I did the April one, which really, it's a planner. I was going to use this as a planner, but as you can see, this was just doodles. This was the Copic stitch and Japanese bookbinding, because I think this is the day I made the book. Planner Heaven and Peace. I did some stencils. I found all my kids' stencils. They give me them all back. That's the buttonhole. Couldn't resist that. Just drawing around the lines. No stream today. I put the Derwent watercolors in my little book, so I have my Derwents. I found the flow chart. Yes, I've been looking for this flow chart for ages, and I found it. So that made me a happy girl, and that will be going in the back of there because I love it. Or it was going in the back of there. So I found lots of craft supplies, sorting pens and pencils, stencils and ephemera, stamps, inks and paints. And I just used, I found a little stencil, then I found this stencil. I found a protractor and thought, well, that would work for shapes. I did look online to buy things and decided no. So I was binge watching The Saint as well. Friday again, I was drawing around that wooden butterfly. I drew around that little tiny bit of film here, which I loved, and then I just really loved doing that. It was just amazing. And then I found a stamp. I have a film stamp. I found thousands of stamps, but this was being my kind of what I did that day. So what I would like to do, I normally write a line when I woke up, or hubby woke me up, or Alfie woke me up, and I write what I'd like to do, and then this is what I actually do. So I'd got the Hobonichi A4, 800 pages, Hobonichi A5 planner, which cost about £3, if not less, to make. The Hobonichi Creative one, that's got 1,200 pages. And then I've got Midori bedside planner. So again, I found my Midori, my original real Midori, and absolutely love it. And that's my at bedtime scribble things down that I need to know. Doesn't have to be neat, and it's a bullet journal system. It's a very simple bullet journal system. It's just lists. It's just, I don't even bother at the moment putting days in it because I don't need to. So I'm just writing a short note, writing a line underneath it, and carrying on the next day. I did do days at the top and then realized I was wasting a page. So that's not how I use the bullet journal system in my Midori. I just write what I have to write, and then I draw a line under it, and then the next day I do again. I watched Columbo. I watched the Queen's speech at 8 o'clock. I haven't coloured these in. I've just kind of written what had happened and what I was doing that day. I watched a lot of Columbo because they're all the time. There was I decided to do a bit of a movie thing. John English was on. I recorded them and watched Cocoon the movie. My supplements, and then I thought, I don't want that information in here because it changed. And I decided, no stream, I had a headache. I put Boris Johnson in hospital, cut extra wet sea whites pages for the book, set out the Midori, little things like that, because I forget when I do things. So this was going to be a journal every day, but it changed when I found my my flow chart. I love that flow chart. I cannot tell you how awesome that flow chart is. This is how I make the patterns, just going over and over and over and making more and more and more. And I really loved it. And then I went back in, and this is what I intended to do, is just doodle at a later date. If I've got the time, I did it. If I didn't, I'd go back to it. So it was very simple, just following the squares. Very simple, because the other thing is, when we get here and we're out and about again, we may not have time to do this. So again, I had to think about that and pull the reins back. But I kind of enjoyed that. And then I did a silly thing. I found the little flow chart. I was doodling with embroidery, not embroidery, what do we call them? What do we call them? This is, I bought this for my daughter. I found it downstairs. So I've repurposed this. I bought it might be a bit of a rattle, guys, so brace yourselves. So this is supposedly, you can either shut it, or you can put it under your bed, and you put the TV remote in it, and you can put all sorts in it. So I've put all my stencils, and I found these are things from the children, but I've also found my there's two, there's another one in there somewhere. I have a square one as well and a diamond. These are for quilting, and I've obviously picked them up in my sewing things and repurposed them. This is, I used that at Easter. You'll see that in a second. That's one of the children's, and I should have hundreds of these somewhere. So that's going to be really interesting. And that's if my hands are hurting and I want something quick. I have found, this is the favorite stencil that my daughter's. I chose that one to be the main one. And then I found a couple of smaller ones, so I might not do that because then I don't have to cart this around with me. But I found some of these. I've got about 6. I think I've got another one of a bird cage, and I've never used them. So these I will use as a stencil in my book, and that's for this book, not the creative-y one, really. I was using the circles on the top of my rotary pen sets. I've got upper and lower case for that one. I don't know what's in that one. This was the spirograph. Now I was looking to buy one, but I'm not going to buy one. But I found somewhere there will be a spirograph. So I found this, which is the spirograph for children. But instead of taking it where it's really, really fine, we can stop it after it's done a few lines, and we'll end up with something to colour in. So the idea was to find things and not to buy things. So that's what I found in there. I don't think I've put anything else in there. I just put some these 2 that I got with that thing. I love these, but things have changed. So that was going to be my diary. So you can see on here, this was the Easter. So I decided to use the children's. It just says it's a Helix. It's a children's one. Greetings. So I found the Easter egg one, found the hearts and the flowers. I didn't use the witch. I didn't use the candle and the cake and the bunny. I found the little chick. So again, doodled it and then went back a bit later and decided that I wasn't going to do this. Alfie slept through. He slept through for about a week. And then the last 4 nights Hillary had a high temperature and we were a bit worried. It went up yesterday. And then today it came down. Yesterday afternoon it came down a bit, so we were kind of really worried because she's 95 in August, I think 96 in August. So we were a little bit concerned that she'd got this high temperature. She's in isolation, which is not good for her. And then on the Sunday I wasn't very well, so I did a little prayer. But then I went downstairs because I was looking for something and I thought, I've got to find it. And I was looking for something. And I found 2 things. I found a little chain, which is about somewhere, and I drew around it. And then I found the bird cages and thought, well, I didn't need to do that. But I decided that I was looking at, this is black work. So I've got a book, some embroidery books on black work and all different. I did lots of different embroideries, but they're all black work stitches. And then I suddenly thought, hang on a minute, I've got some really nice books with patterns of drawings of photographs of the stitches in blocks of all the knitted stitches, all the crocheted stitches. But then I found the Mrs Beetons book and I thought, oh, I'll have a look at this. So for the moment, I'm using this. So then I just decided that I wanted to work like this, but realized this book shouldn't be doing this. I should be doing it in my creative journal. And so I've got to stop myself because you can get a bit carried away. Oh, here's the boy. Hi, Alfie, you had your supper. Here's the boy. Hi, Alf. Alfie. Hello. Alfie. Oh, not impressed. Hi, Alf. Alfie. Hello, darling. Hello. You've been a good boy. Have you had your supper? Sorry, guys. Alfie just wanted to say hello. I do have a bit of a thick head, guys, so you have to just a bit of and my camera is just swinging. swinging. So I've kind of got a bit carried away in this one, but I think it's the fact that I just love it. I love the feel of it. And it doesn't really matter because, you know, this hasn't got that many pages in. It's only cheap and cheerful. It wasn't designed to do what this one did, which was to be very creative in it and not to do any journaling in it. And so I've got to work in this one now, but I've had a bit of a practice. Now I should have a bookmark somewhere. I've got a bookmark, that will do. So I do have a bookmark, so I know where I'm going because I'm getting a bit this. I did make one purchase and then I was disappointed. This says it's a 4-color. It's a 4-color. I couldn't find any refills for my Frickson, and this is a 3-color one, and I actually wanted the 4-color one, but I made a mistake and bought the wrong one. But it's fine. It's quite fine. So that means if that runs out, I do have a pen, and I can erase things as well. So that's quite nice. So I bought something. I bought my daughter something for a birthday because it's very soon, and I didn't realize I always end up being out of time and I have to rush about, and of course we can't do that. So I bought her something for her birthday, and that was near, so it came at the same time to save things. This was the flow chart that I found, this little miniature one. And again, I love the fact it sits in the smallest. It's a flow chart, and again, I was actually saw one to buy, and I was so pleased I hadn't bought it. I do have to just move things off there. That's my original flow chart, and that's my new one. And obviously, the children will have these, or if you can do all sorts of things. But when you look at these tiny little things, it's supposed to be, I think it's for electronics or something I read. Contains most frequently used symbols for current diagrams according to the BS whatever and IEC, supplemented with symbols from DIN. Like rubbish, but I presume it's when people are, if you look there, you're doing components for industry. But when you look at these tiny little things, they're almost like what's on this one as well, actually, which I've just bobbed somewhere. But these will fit if you want anything for bullet journals, if you want any lines or anything. And so I got a bit carried away and drew them once and then kind of went over them again and then put patterns in patterns. And I was watching a movie while I was doing that, so I wasn't concentrating really. But again, I love the fact that all these little symbols you could use in your either in your Hobonichi or your Fibonacci, your for bullet journaling, any kind of journaling. And again, it has that nice square somewhere that fits this square, so you could go around every square and give it definition if you wanted to, which can look quite nice. So have you got any questions? Oh, Dad, so she's got 2 journaling pages herself. Well, again, this was yesterday. I didn't write anything about yesterday. All I did was that. And I thought, well, that's not what this journal's about. And this has turned into kind of my everyday one. I really love it. I like the size of it. I like A5. The little one will be going in my handbag. This may not. But this will definitely be used every day. But I love what I was doing till probably 2 or 3 in the morning the other day was the stitches. So absolutely love my little bob it in there. And I'm going to put that one in that side because I won't be using these in the other books. I'll use the little one maybe in the other book, but this is Oh, I must remember to do that, because obviously now I have to. I can go back and colour it later. And that's why I love a pen. Oh, no. Oh, Alfie, no. He's trying to jump on the bed. It's full of things. I had 3 cameras out today before I got the right one. Let me just bob. I do need, I think I got this clip out. And again, the nicest thing about this one, because it doesn't zip up, I can have anything I like in it. So I can keep that there and I know where I am. I do have some nice beads to go on here. As is, Alfie, you have to sit on the floor, darling. Be a good boy and sit on the floor. He's not used to sitting on the floor. So this page, I thought that's what I want to do. So I've been looking, and I did. Oh, so you have to forgive the fact everything's on a slant. This is point lace. So I drew the scissors because the first thing for the point lace is point lace work is the scissors, I think. The scissors. Get some scissors there. And I thought that was quite nice. So I tried to draw it. It's not perfect, but it's fine. Again, then I got really think that, well, that's not what this is going to be about. So this is going to have a little bit of a border around something important that I did with another children's find, this one. And I have a smaller one as well, because obviously we've got Monday, Tuesday. They all fit. I do like that one, but I might change it. That's the nicest thing. I thought originally I would stay with the same theme, but actually it's evolving. And I don't know if that's what journals do, because I don't normally do one. But this is evolving with me. Oh, hi, Marilyn. Welcome to Bunny Designs. Anybody else popping in? Oh, thank you, Della. Enjoy your clean. Enjoy your work. So this has got some really beautiful black and white sketches. And I thought, well, it's quite nice that, you know, you learn how to do this needlework because of a drawing. And now I'm learning to do some patterns back from knitting. So I've kind of made it full circle, if that makes any sense. But I just love these. So all I'm trying to do, so maybe for 1 month, I'll do the needle point. So we've got some edges here. So I thought I might draw those around the edges. But I think this, I've had a bit of a play here. There's 3 different stitches. I probably will finish that, and it's a practice. But this work, probably because it does take a long time. And again, we've got lots of time, so that's fine. Oh, excuse me, my phone's going. I knew it would go if I didn't pick it up. And Alfie's asleep. Bear with me, guys. I'll be back in a second. Oh, it stopped. Sorry guys, every time I get up, he's there. He's there. Every single time. I'm trying to go the right way, straighten it up. I'm making a best job of it. There we go. So every time I stand up, he jumps straight in my seat. So have you got any questions? So I think today's Tuesday, isn't it? I did know the day every single day, and then yesterday I totally lost the plot. I think today is Tuesday. So I'll do a doodle, but that was good for a practice. So I think I've been kind of using this as a practice. Now, if you see these pens are going through, that was a different pen that I used that day. But this is printer paper. It doesn't go through, it shows through, but it doesn't go through this squared paper, and it doesn't go through, but this is my cheaper one. So you might want to work in pencil, or it's only cheap printer paper. So it's very, very thin. So I just wanted to show you how I do that. Take that one out. The other thing you can do, so I'll do something really simple because that takes a lot of time, and again, we've got a lot of time, so that's fine. It's a little bit like doing a jigsaw. I felt very calm, like I was fitting a jigsaw together. So I shall leave that for the second, but I really love this cover. This cover on cover, it's kind of very tactile because it's plastic and it's protected. So I'm going to move everything about. I don't need the children's one, although I love doing it for something very quick. And again, the reason I've left it out is that will be used when I'm back to normal, when we've only got 10 minutes or half an hour to do this, or an hour before bed. That's when these things will come back into play. But for the moment, I'm quite enjoying having this really, I found an old earring as well, and I thought, oh, I'll put that on there. So I've got this little butterfly earrings. So I've put that on the zip. So I found lots and lots of things. Oops, there we are. So this is April the 11th, which is, oh, no, that's Friday. That's Saturday. So I'm quite behind with this. So this was where we should be, I think. I look at the bottom of my computer. It should tell me the day today. It's 14th already, goodness me. So it's the 14th of April. So I do have a lot of, that normally sits in there. Something else that was in that set of very, very small. This is also, obviously before that happened, this is for instruments. And this has all those little tiny things, these little tiny bullet journal things that you could use if you wanted to do symbols. So I popped that one in there as well before I found that little tiny one. So sometimes you just have to kind of work around things. So this was going to be my doodle inspiration. On my, I love the fact that all my planners sit up there. So on a busy day, I would probably either doodle something and then color it in, or use the flow chart. So this flow chart can be used with hundreds of different designs. I absolutely love it. You can still buy it. It's only a few pence. If you do not have a stencil, this is brilliant for patterns. You can make every shape you want to. I don't think I have any of the original ones handy. Is it me if I have? In my, I've just found, oops, sometimes when I went away, I just took Midori. And I have found this that I've made, so you can see it does. So I've used the same design there. My doodle keeps popping up. I did think there was a few others in there, but maybe not. Maybe not. I think I've put this in here, so again, I've put the Madura, so I can doodle if I want to. But it is basically, and instead of wasting the rest of this page, I've just flipped it round. So this was last year's, and I've tipped it upside down, flipped it round, and now I'm using it again. And as I say, what I've done, I was moving the bed, move the bed table, clear the drawers, that they were quite high up, mixed media scrapbooks, the roll of the paper for the background, which I haven't found yet. This must be downstairs. So I was moving an awful lot of things. Catch up with the planners, tidy desk. Have you seen this desk? Move the mirror. So I moved quite a lot of things yesterday, and I was pottering, so I have to rest the next day. I don't know if everybody else finds that. This one I have on the outside, but I found it works really well on the outside as a doodle, as a scrap doodle, so I don't even have to open it. I can just write little things down. I was watching Jamie Oliver earlier, and he was making the tally, and there was something else he was making, and I kind of fancy that. I've been poorly because I'm living on biscuits and cups of tea, and I've been doing that since I've been in probably 3 or 4 weeks now, maybe 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Can't remember how many weeks I've been doing this. I decided that I needed to be a bit healthier. I've also got a spell in my finger and I can't get it out. There's a bit of wood in there, and I've been poking it, and oh, got a bumblebee. Been poking it, I put things on it, and it's not coming out, so I'm not happy, and I don't want to go to hospital with it out, so might have to do a bit of digging later. Oopsie. So I'm going to have a bit of a play on here, and I'm going to try and follow. Oh, this would take too long, but I might make a video of that. The other thing in this Mrs Beetons book is, this is not an original, this is a reprint, I should say. I can't remember those, but if you look at the patterns, especially the tatting, there's some beautiful edgings that we can use that nobody else is using, so it's quite unique, and I kind of like that. You know, I used to draw with my embroidery thread with black work. I used to use it like a black pen, and I did that for a while for my degree, but of course my hands were hurting, so I couldn't do it. I couldn't finish it off. So I did lace making, but there's some quite nice drawings, and if you find, especially with not cross stitch, but there's some beautiful lettering, monograms and initials, some gorgeous lettering here. So I'll be looking at those. I only picked it up the other day, looking through it. But it was the stitches that I wanted to see. The square stitches match the squares on the book. So it's not like you're drawing something, you're just drawing a pattern within a pattern. And I kind of like that. So some of the edges you could use around the edges, and they'll be very ornate and take quite a while. So you could work through the book while we have to stop at home and just do edgings. There's some, this is all square. So you could do this as obviously a thinner border or a thicker border. It depends how big your book is. So I will make a couple of videos, but it would be so boring for you to watch me just make these, because it's very, very calming and very tedious, but it's quite enjoyable if you like that. So what I thought I would do today, I found that stamp, and I found this stamp, which I bought for journaling, and I've not used it, so I'm using the plain one, and that's the date stamp. Then I don't have to write small. I may stick to that. I kind of like it. So I think I wanted to use, and I don't know what I've put it up, the flow charts. If I make some patterns very quickly, we can do them quickly, and then we can see how they grow, if that makes any sense. Oh, calendula ointment. Oh, thank you. I'll have a look at that. I'll just type that in. But it's covered over now. It's been a week. I've been poking for a week and it won't come out. So, it needs to come out. There's only a little bit left in, but I've been putting pseudocreme on it, not the other one, but an antiseptic cream. So it was very red and swollen, and I thought when it stops being red and swollen, I can poke in there again. I'm a bit of a wimp. I'll just Google that. Calendula. Oopsie. You might not be able to get it over here. Calendula. Right, I'll just take a photograph of that. This is what I do because I can't remember things. I just take photographs on the phone and then it'll remind me. Thank you, Marilyn, for that. So back to my umdiddlyumptious flow chart. So it does show you how to make different things. I kind of like this one. Oh, this is one of my favorites. So this is the creative one. So I'm not bothered about a timing or jobs to do. I can't remember what I did Saturday, but I think I want to put that in the other one. I might make a pattern, and you can line the middle up because they have squares on, or you can line the actual edge up. Most of these fit the squares equally. So obviously this is a universal square. It is a millimeter bigger than Hobonichis. Hobonichis are 4 millimeters. These are 5 millimeters. I think these are 5 millimeter squares. And somewhere. I do have a ruler somewhere. So they're a millimeter bigger than Hobonichis, but I just like the paper. But this is the thinner one that I love, so that you kind of get an alternate one. This pen does not go through on that or this. It won't go through on a Bible page. It's permanent Indian ink and it's Rotring, and the ink's from Rotring as well. And it doesn't go through a Bible page, and it does not go through this paper either, this layout paper. So we can start with a pattern, and then we can kind of doodle inside it if we want. I just kind of like to hear the birds tweeting. Then I use the middle on the outside here. This is obviously for going in a file. So if you find that little one will fit inside this little one, and it works quite well, then you can kind of fit this over that one and make patterns. I should have started in the middle really, but you can make a pattern and then you can kind of, I just love the fact you can play. And I'm not very good and neat at drawing at the minute because my hand's bad, my thumb's really bad, but I can draw around stencils and things. So we can put that one or a smaller one there. So we can do individual ones, and this one shows you that it has a drum top, which I've forgotten where it is now. It's there, so you can just, it's good for book spines. You could do huge books. And then this might take you an hour or so while you're watching TV. And then what you do, oh, sorry guys, I've got to have a drink. Is you then, this is when you kind of think, right, I'm going to put that over there. And you can do this with a ruler, or you can make a mess of it like me. Do that one, do that one, do that one, do that one. And this particular circle or wheel or whatever it's looking like now can kind of be the theme or the doodle of the day, depending how you look at it. The one thing I do is that I try and do like a background. So with this one, I might draw around the edges, or I could put something in there to use it as a flow chart. Excuse me. You could reverse the circle if you feel like it, or I think I've got a little square. I've got a square or a diamond shape in there. I've used the diamond already. Let's find something else. That one. It's not going to show much, that one, is it? This is, I like this one. This is one of my faves as well. So you put this one in each one, and it's not perfect. You'll see it's definitely not, but sometimes they don't meet, sometimes they're bigger than others, but I kind of like that because it's still organic, even though it's all drawn. It's not geometrically drawn perfectly, and so it's still kind of a bit organic-y, if you can see. Like, I haven't drawn them, I've just drawn them as a pattern, and then I'll go the background here. I love doing the background. I just like drawing the background. What have I done in this one? I've done a bit more in this one. This book I made about 5 years ago, so there's quite a lot in here. Failed as a Hobonichi, but that's one of the patterns. Filled it and then coloured it with just one colour. Did the same pattern, and then and this is on, again, squared paper and plain, squared, plain. But this is what you can do, and I was playing with stitches then, with black work stitches. And this is the creative journal. This isn't writing journaling. This is being creative. This is the drawing bit, because it's the drawing bit we don't normally have time to do because it takes time. But of course, we've got lots of time. Some pages I didn't like doing. I have been looking at making stencils, so I'm going to make some stencils. Oh, you see, look, I've used that pattern already, so it's come back to me. This is I think it's called Jacobean stitching. That it's all different stitches. So I have done this before, but I never thought to look in my. I've always made them up in my head. The blackwork stitches I know. So doodling with colours. That's the Derwent Graphitint, which I love the Derwent Graphitint. Totally different from, and my little book of watercolours will be going in here because this is the creative journal. Sorry, in the big one. And again, just a doodle and then colour it later. Oh, this is playing with stitches. So it's always been something that I've been doing, is playing with stitches. It's doing the black and white journaling now. so that we can then, I'm putting all my different shapes in one place. So this is what I started last time. I think I started doing this, and I knew I had the flow chart, and I have it on a ruler, but all these shapes, but I don't have it. I didn't have it in the right size. So all bits of plastic and packaging works. It will come off if I put that into soak overnight. It'll come off all that, and then I've got a lovely acetate. In fact, I might look about. I've got quite a lot of that. I might keep that and use it for. And this is the faux Benici cover that I made, and then I've just got a headband that I bought the girls, and they've come back to haunt me, and I'm just using that. Fits perfectly. So you could go back to this, and as I say, what I would probably do is sit, and you've got to be comfortable. So all these, your wrist has got to be in this kind of angle, but while you listen to dogs bark and birds chirp, just draw around letters, and that pencil line can be scrubbed out, but and this is, again, it takes time, but it's quite pleasurable. It's taking our mind off. And again, now I want to work this way. I've turned the book, and I'm comfortable. You've got to be comfortable. If you're not comfortable, you will make mistakes and you will ruin a pattern, and then you get cross with it. But if you do that, just turn the page over it. It's cheap paper. This is probably why I can't work in a real Hobonichi, because it's so expensive. I wouldn't dare open it. And so now I can concentrate that that's the middle of the P. Now sometimes I change and do the other side. So again, you've got to think about what you're doing. So that's the R. That's the P. And then if you wanted, you could take that a step further, and we could do a star in there. This is if you wanted to keep it black and white. And the nicest thing about it is I fill this pen up once, I think, and it just lasts forever. Now you see, if I do that, I'll go wobbly. So I've got to turn, because again, this, although it's a background, this is part of the therapy. This is, it's not quite mindless, but it's monotonous. It's you're not being creative, you're just following lines. So you're not having to make something up because it's already there. You're just kind of manipulating it in a creative way. I don't know if that's the right phrase and if that makes sense. So that means that I would do that particular one now there, and then I would do that one, and it doesn't look particularly okay at the minute, but you do have to concentrate, and it's the concentration that takes the time, and it's the time that we're wasting because we have a lot of time. So I hope that makes more sense. And you do have to concentrate, you know. I mean, you can, I binged watched movies yesterday. I was moving things about and going through things, but I binge watched the Carry On movies, which are not politically correct, but great fun if you grew up with them. And it's all done with the least offensive intent. So you have to take it as it is. And I've seen them, in fact, 2 of them I watched twice in the space of 2 or 3 days, but I still tittered. I still just burst out laughing. And so it's quite good therapy. So that one, you can either go in a line like this and do each individual one, or go across. You've just got to remember where you've been and where you're going, because you do have to concentrate, even though, as I say, it's not difficult. And that's the good thing. It's like colouring. It's the same as colouring. I'm not being particular. Oops, I nearly did the P then. I'm not being particularly creative, but I'm manipulating these shapes that are already here. So there's that one, that one, that one. If you've got letters like this, it's probably a good idea to go in a line, or go every other one. It's probably better. Because if you see this one, I made a couple of mistakes with this one, but you do have to concentrate, and that's why I didn't do it today, because it was, you really do have to concentrate. So I was doing the little stitches first, then going back and then putting the shadow in, and you've got to remember you're going around words, and what would be, I've missed one there, you see, but that would be missed anyway. So it's stitch, no stitch, stitch, no stitch, stitch. So and then of course when you've finished it, the words will pop out. So if you've got any questions. So thanks for joining me, guys. It's, the birds are chirping, the things are empty actually. I haven't actually had my arm out, but as Ken Dodd says, I'll have to put my other arm out to get that one sunburned next time. It's not quite, they are starting to, we have a very wide hedge, and the birdies spend about an hour and a half just before the sun goes down debating where they're going to go stay, and it's fascinating and it's just wonderful. And about 30 go in, and then about 5 or 6 are on top, and then they disappear in another, and you can see them all about, and the tree next to them is full, and eventually they all pop on, and there's lots of chirping going on. And I just imagine them, they're like, it's a bit like the tube, it's like shift up, get another one in, shift up. And it just goes on and on and on. I'd see if I could just find my iPad, which is just in front of me. Do remember though, in the top of this pen is a little rubber sucker. So when you, and this is a tube with a wire, and it's the ink that's the scratchiness, it's the wire where the ink is. So if you shut this gently, it very carefully touches the end, so that the next time you open it, it will flow, and it never dries out, and I love that. Unless you've left it for years and years and years. I have left mine for months before. So if I can find the photographs of these birds, you'll see what's happening. I tried to show it the other day. So this is the hedge, and if you see there, these are the big boys, these, and then lower down there's a few, but then you can see there's an odd one or two sitting on the hedge. And then what happens is there's a few at the bottom as well. So there's a couple down here, there's some big trees at the other side, and there's a couple in here, and they sit and wait, and then they disappear, they pop in, and then if you can see this one, the smaller ones go in, and then this is them actually doing it. If you see, there's so many of them, and they're just, and the noise they make, because they're all kind of disappearing in, waiting. Shift up, watch this one, shift up, and he disappears, and that's the noise you can hear. And this was full of birds, and they all wait the turn, and they all push in. All the tiny ones are going in, and then they all come back, and they all start again. That's probably because the cat's about. And they're sitting here. Well, then there's another hedge here. This is all buddleia. These buddleia trees are trees. I don't have them as shrubs. And but this is the one that we cut. We leave the other one. And you can see there they all are waiting, and they'll just disappear in a minute. They'll all pop in and they'll just disappear. You have to wait for the one's gone in. There's another one. And that goes on for about, and he's going to disappear in a minute. He goes in, he's waiting, he's shouting, shift up, shift up, shift up. And then all of a sudden they'll disappear. And that hedge must have hundreds of birds in it. Oh, he's going in now. He's going to disappear. He's gone. And it just goes on and on and on, and it's fascinating. And this one, you can actually, on the top of the hedge, there's so many, and that's what they do all day. They just sorry, at tea time, when it's tea time, before the sun goes down, they all want to they all wait. That's the field at the back, and then we all have half an acre that goes right to the bottom. And it's a very, very wobbly wobbly tree. I'm just trying to find other my planners. I've been looking at how to do hobonichis, and looking at how the hobonichis are set out. One of the things I have got is, I don't know where it is now. Somewhere. Oopsie, wrong one. That's what I was counting, the stitches, the stitches, the squares. So that's what the noise is. And again, it's not quite tea time yet, but they start, and then, oops, they just chirp, 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 chirp. This is a very, again, stitches, or just doing shapes within the shapes. And again, you know, you've said something, and it's just, it's mind occupying, I think, is probably the bestest way to say. So if that would be in the middle, you see, it would be there. It's not the middle of that line, it's the middle of this line, and then that would be the middle of that line, so you wouldn't see it. That one and this one, so you can see that one. You do have to keep this pen upright though. So that one goes across, that one goes across there, and then that one would come down there. So you have to have a little bit of the easiest thing would be do all the big ones first, and then go back and do the smaller ones, because you've got a better chance of not making a boo-boo. But it's just quite therapeutic to do that. And then there's no reason why you can't go in there and colour it later if you want. You can use a watercolour, but I use Derwent watercolour pencils only, because I made a mistake, and I used down here, if you can see, the Inktense, and so I use it from a paper palette, so you've got to be a little bit careful. But the Derwent watercolours, I really like doing that. I think I made a mistake on that, or I tore it, or did something with it, I can't remember now. This is a slightly different paper, but it's the same square, because this is perforated. So it's in a pad, but you can tear it off. Not all of them are perforated, and so I'll put that behind that one. Let's probably why. Oh, I've forgotten where I was now. Oh, I started on this one now. So that pattern was made by that flowchart. I said I only just found it, so it'll take a while for me to get back into it. But I really like that, and there's no reason why I can't put shapes over the top of shapes and kind of really fill it up if I wanted to. I might do that one plainer. This one's looking a bit. So if I do the barrel next, and again, once you've got a pattern for a row, you can either do it completely wishy-washy, or you can kind of really go where you want to go. So that's that one. And then I had that one over the top, didn't I? No, it was the diamond one. Was it the diamond? That one. So that was the next one. But I need to put, you see, the only thing is about doing that, I should have waited. So I put that one there. Yeah, I put that one there. So that would go there. See, sometimes you've got to think about what you're doing. So if I go that one, I'll go that one there. See what happens. And then put the diamond to that one. I don't normally do it like that. I normally kind of do the whole thing. So this one. But I didn't want to think about it too much, if that makes any sense. I'm just creating a pattern, because if you kind of think, oh, that takes away the spontaneity of it, if that's the right word, and the kind of doodling. But we're not doodling drawing, we're just doodling within shapes, and I think that's quite important, because this is, you just pick a shape and do it, and we're not thinking, oh my gosh, that I've got to do that next, like I was doing with a little bit. And I've just realised I shouldn't be doing that in this book. Hey, oh, never mind. This is my doodle book. I can do what I like in this one. This is the journal one. So I can put shapes in each shape before I start to put patterns in. So I can put the diamond in that one. And because it's randomish, I don't have to. Oh, it isn't randomish, that one, is it? As I say, it's not even though. It's just picking a shape and putting another one in. And it's not even, it's not exact. And I kind of like that about it, because it still looks hand drawn even though it isn't. And it would take me forever to draw a diamond shape or a hexagonal shape. It would just take me forever, and I wouldn't be able to do it. So I like that one. It's a bit long, that one. Can I put in that one? Put that one in that one. And if you end up doing this, you'll end up with so many patterns within patterns. And again, and that's before you've even started to kind of colour it, or you can just do it in black and white squares. If we use this little middle circle here, we've got, and again, it's not exactly in the middle, just generally eyeballing it, because I think if you started to measure all the time, it would take it away from this doodle with shapes kind of thing. So that one across there, and that one across there. There. Eventually these shapes will fill out, and we can bring some colour in, or you might like it as it is and think not to do that. I'll go to this page next, so I can have a play with that a bit later. So this one is the nice thinner paper, and I did say that I'd found these shapes here. So and I've got some shapes which would be difficult to show because I'm on a slant. If you go on the floor, that's it. So I've got those, and I've also got these metal ones, which I've put somewhere. No, I can't remember. Put them. And these fit in here. I think I'm going to put them back in here. So these are some metal stamps. And again, I was tempted. I was looking on eBay and I was looking at to see how much they were to buy some more metal ones. And then I thought, I'm not going to do that. And that's why I went looking for the stitch book. They're nice to use, and I do like them, but we can do other things with them. So that's not going to be big enough, but I can put a butterfly in the middle. So I can draw around this, and again, I'm not making sure that it's level. I'm trying not to move it, which I've moved it, but hey ho. So my thumb's got gout in it at the minute, so it's not behaving itself. And the beauty of this pen, now the flowchart, most pens obviously will go in it because it's a child's one. When you get to these thinner ones, you need a finer pen. And the rotary one I love because it's permanent Indian ink. I've got some red and blue that I've never used, so I'm going to be putting that in. I've also found about 4, maybe 5, 6 black papered sketchbooks, which I've bought, and I was thinking about buying the new metallic pencils from Derwent, but I've talked myself out of that, and I am going to use my white pen. Oops, as I use a black pen on a white book, I will be using a white pen and doing the same thing, filling it with shapes, patterns, and it would just be black and white. Because I'm really determined. The only reason I bought that pen is the Frickson one, is that I wanted the refills, but they kind of looked a little bit dodgy, if that's the right word. I wasn't sure of where to get them. So I've decided that I'll wait, because I think they have them at Staples or Ryman's, I think we have in the UK. So I shall wait until I can physically put my paws on it. And again, that's something to look forward to. Now I think I've gone round everyone, and we have a butterfly. But remember what I did before with the other butterfly? You know, there is that shape, but I changed it, I altered it. Oh, that one is now, is it in here somewhere? This one, that was the mirror. Oh, and I haven't got that, it's behind me. So I'm going to put that back in, because I took it out. I found two. I found one that's not broken, and the other one I've got, because my hands, say, don't work very well, and this has, it's quite intricate. I've put some invisible tape, but what I've done is put it on the cardigan and made it low tack, like we used to do at college, so I can put that way. But the other thing I can do is make it up as we go along. So I can do this, and I can stick it down. So I know I need to be up, but I want it to be in the middle, so I have to move it. So that's why I've made a mistake that way. So we want this to be in the middle, so we put that in the middle, or we could put that here. It's probably a better idea, because we can see where the top finishes. So we can take that round and then make it better, or we could do it inwards. The other thing we could do is, it's a butterfly, but it has a lot of other shapes as well. So we can take this shape here, and if you put the middle bit of the butterfly there, so we can round that one up, and we'll remove these. So if we just play with this particular stencil, we've only got one stencil, so this is what you're using this stencil to its full potential. So I've done the little one there. Take that off, flip it over, and we should, if we match that one up with that corner, let me just see which one it was. Is it that one? I matched the head of the butterfly, so the head of the butterfly to the corner of that. And again, just use those 5 middles. So then we know, and because it's exactly that way, you can do it that way, you can flip it over, but you've got the same one. So if I put that to there, now I have got a bit of a dip there, so I'm just going to take something out. I haven't put anything underneath too much. Take too much out of there. I built that up just a little bit. That's better, just so that it's completely flat. So we've got so the butterfly head goes to the top of there, and that goes that way. Make sure you can see it. We can see it a little bit because we can see it on the other one. And again, it's not going to be absolutely perfect, but we're not bothered about it being absolutely perfect, because it's a stencil, but it still looks hand drawn. So then we're going to put the head of the butterfly there and do the same. So we've got a stencil of a butterfly, but we're using it as a frame. And we can do the back. Well, in the middle, we can see what we can use. So if we used 3, it would take us to the center. So if we did that, it would go over. So the center is about there. So if we used 3, so we've lined up the top of that one and that one. We're not touching anything else. We're not going anything over anything else. If we do this, and again, if it was only single-sided, but we can just flip it, and then we can do the same. So we need to put that in there, and we need to line it up with that and that. Oh, I've only got three. Three? Yep, three. Yep, the three, those three. So I want to line it up with that one and that one, but not the head. You can have them touching if you want to, but I think, oops, so you can put a little bit of sticky tape on that one. And then we can use an asymmetrical one. So the tail and the head are, the ones in the middle are symmetrical. And if you look at that one, that's the tail. That's also symmetrical. Oh, I don't like that, but never mind. I can change it to do something else. Whatever I do, it's got to be symmetrical, though. I can just alter that a little bit. And then work our way around, and we've got a frame. And then we can fill it in. So again, that goes to there. The head and the body line up, and then we've got 1, 2, oops, 2, 3, 4, and the little one. And then this way, the head and the body. Again, you do have to concentrate a little bit, but not on the drawing. So put the head and the body to that corner. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we do the same with this one. So again, if you've only got one stencil, don't think, oh, I've only got one stencil, that's it. It isn't. You can do a lot with one stencil. I think we could get away with, oh, do the little one. Anyway, do that little one anyway, don't we? I've missed it off the top there. So we can line this back up. Line it back up and put the 4th one in, or the 5th one, and the same with this one. So line the head and the body up in that top corner, bottom corner, and then just do that one. I missed that one. And then we can have something in the middle again. You can just put the bottom of this. We could put that in. That's quite nice. So you can decide where you want it. Decide that it's in the middle. Hold it down, and then we're going to go down this one, that one, that one, that one, that one. There's all sorts of things that you can do. So we've got one butterfly. We've got a frame for that. We could then go around the edge, or we can do a bigger frame. So let's have a look at that one. I think that's the one I said I couldn't do, didn't it? I like the fact I'm only using one of these. But the other things I do have about, find them. Typical. Is another frame, so we can line this one up. So you could do this with a ruler. So you line this one up and draw around it. And then measure, I don't know where I was on that one. That little thing there was touching that there. That is touching the line, so measure it up, and that's touching the line there, so we know we're the same. Line all the other lines up and then finish the drawing rounds. It's not quite there, it's there now. And we could draw a butterfly. If you had a bigger paper, you could do the butterfly coming out of each corner, and you can just continue and continue. But I'm just going to put one here. Actually, I'm going to use that frame, I think, because I'm not going to draw around the frame, but I'm going to match the frame up as a marker and then hold it steady. And I find it easy to start at one side and just keep going. Now, this pen doesn't like it if you dilly-dally about. You go in, you draw around once. If you do it more than once, sometimes you get lines. But the 0.25 is my favorite, and it will draw. It probably would fill, depending if I was just doing line drawings, it would fill this book. I've gone months without filling it up. If I was doing more intricate patterns, then I might need to fill it up, but individually they're about £35. You can get them second hand, but be very careful with the nibs. No, I did make a mistake there, so I've gone back again, but normally it doesn't really like it. This layout paper will not go. We used to use it at college in the 80s. We used a lot of layout paper because we did a lot of designs with the same theme. So a bit like this is what we used to do, use stencils, draw things, letter set, depending on obviously what it was. Because I used to smoke, as everybody did in the at college then, my uncle bought me a paintbrush. Probably about the first, I think it was the first, I'm just going to check, it should be, missed a little look. Probably the first year. So I think I've done, there we go, I've got another one. If that page was a bit bigger, I could go over that page and do another one. The other thing I did on here is I have some dragonflies. So I did butterflies and dragonflies. But I just want to play with one particular. I want to play with just one particular pattern, so that we can kind of, that's quite nice, that one and that one. If I just move that out a bit. So and I started to play with this paintbrush, and I was just doing curls, and it looked like cigarette ends, and so I came up with the advert for cigarettes raining down like rain. And not long after, there was a Benson and Hedges advert which had cigarettes raining down on an umbrella. I thought, oh, okay then. So I've done that one and that row, so I'll do that row next. So I was quite impressed the fact that, you know, I was only a first year student, but I'd come up with something quite unusual. And it was purely because of a brush. So this is why I say you get something new and you play with it, because you don't know what it can do until you've really played with it. Looks like a butterfly's disappearing. And did I do that one? Or did I do that one? I did that one. You've got to remember how you came up with the idea like this one. So I hope that's been a bit inspirational. I'm just going to move that out a bit. But just because you've got one stencil, as I say, you can do lots of other things with it. Now the other stencil, I think I just did two, didn't I? That one and that one. Yep. And then this one. It's a bit of a funny angle, this, but it's fine. Don't have to press on tight. That little, whoops, I say my hands don't go into cramp after a while. And that's the one I didn't line up properly, but never mind. Two. Oh, I missed some. And luckily this is an easier one to line up. Put the three in that one. Oops. There we go. So line those, that one and that one up. That's what I'm lining up. And the two. Two. Oopsie, as I said, my hands don't work. You can put a clip on it if you want to. Again, metal stencils are good with this pen because you've got to be vertical, so that's always a bonus. Oopsie, try not to move it. Oops. So if I do make a mistake, I'll probably go in here with I'll probably fill it in. If I've made a mistake, I'll fill it in. And do that bottom corner. Hopefully I get it on. Those two want to be at the corner, and then we want to move that so they're about equal. So we're lining up the two tips of the butterfly and these two here. Again, it's not going to be perfect, but that's fine, because if it looks perfect, it won't look hand drawn, so we don't care. And if I wanted something perfect, I would have masked it out and lined it up and put lines across and tick marks and all sorts of other things. But I don't want that. I want this just to look kind of stencil, some unification, but it's easy to draw. That's the idea. It's easy to draw. We're not coming up with a masterpiece. We're just drawing a stencil, but we're using it in a creative and imaginative way. If we've only got one kind of stencil, and as I say, I like that. Do that one. Oops. See, if you just move a bit, it goes. And I do that one, and I do two on that one. Yep, that's it. You see, I can't hold things for long. I kind of like that. You know, you can do all sorts of things. We've used that one there, so we can put this in here, and eventually it might not look like a butterfly on the bit we're doing, but the it'll just look like a frame that matches. Of course, it will match because it's made up of the same shape, so it's going to match. So that, again, I like that. It's just using the stencil to its full potential. I've done that one the wrong way around, so I'll have to do this one the wrong way around. There we go. I didn't turn it round, so that's fine. It's not imperative as long as both of them look the same. We can do something in the middle, and we could actually have a butterfly go behind the date if we want to. So if we line that up, so now this is where you do have to be a little bit careful, because we are drawing, and we want to appear the butterfly is going behind the lettering. If you'd have drawn the butterfly first, the letters could go behind, but we didn't. So oops, I made a mistake then. L, and then we can now go mad because we don't have anything in the way. If you want to cross over the butterfly, you can do. There's no reason for you to put it behind if you don't want to. If you do the butterfly in a dark shape, then you can make the letters, and it will get rid of the line. But of course, we do have a line now. Alfie, what are you doing? He's in the bin. Alfie, you've been a good boy. A little bit there. So we do have to concentrate a little bit here. No, not in here. Whoopsie. Fingers have gone dead, you see, because I'm holding it. So now we can finish the butterfly. But I wanted to show that you can fill a page if you have a stencil with either letters, or you can use a letter one. I might do one tomorrow with just a letter one. So we've got that bit there, that bit there, that bit there, bit there, and that bit there. This is fine. So again, luckily we can see a little bit of dark. So when we do that, the butterfly is behind. Oops, I missed one. I think I've missed one. I've missed one. I've missed that one. Oh, done that wrong. Done that wrong. I put it in the middle there. Look. But it's not going to bother me. It won't bother me at all. Now, I can see the squares through. But the other thing I've done on here as well is made a template with the squares on, which I have put somewhere. I think it's in this one. I may have to make another one so that I've got one in each, because I think if I take, I've sent off for a crafting hold all, and I think I'll find that behind here. Oh, I put it somewhere. Somewhere I've got the equivalent of the A4, and it's got all the dark lines written on it, and I use it as a template. I don't know what I've done with it now. Maybe I put it in this one. I think I'll have to make another one, and it's a bit tedious because you do have to concentrate, because you have to draw along those lines with a black marker, and I do use a thicker marker for that so that I can see. But it basically looks, it's here, look, there it is. That's it. So we can't see them particularly well, but when we do this, we can. And all I've done is taken a spare bit and drawn through it. And I normally keep the very clear bit of perspex in the front, because that makes it very sharp. And then I use the little magnets to hold it down in place, because again, if you are doing a background, you don't want it to move. And I've made sure that it fits exactly onto here. They're all going to bed now. Birdies, and again this one as well. And the other thing that does, because these are small, they don't interfere too much with the paper, but what they do is they just stop it curling at the bottom as well, so you get kind of two in one there. So if I push down now, I've got another pattern. I can now go over that, I can do the middle one and the back one with the pattern, or I can do the butterfly. If I do that one, or I do the outside one and that one, well, the outside one's a bit too much, so I could, but it will distract from any mistakes as well, so it's quite good. If I do the frame, I might quite fancy doing the butterfly one actually. So again, make sure that it's where it wants to be, and you can see. And we can, Alfie, what are you doing? I may have to stop, guys, because I think Alfie wants to go out, so I have to open the door and shout, which is not the nicest thing. You could put a ruler, and I did do it with a ruler once, and I didn't like it. I like these wonky, not perfect lines. I think they kind of, they're a bit more organic. A word of warning though, you do go a little bit boss-eyed after a while. And of course that looks narrower because it's on the outside and it's the end of the, so you could get a marker and emphasize the fact that some of these are inside and some are just a pattern. So if I do this, I know. If I just do this first. Yes, I'm going to do this first. Yes, yes. So that looks kind of much of a muchness, but then I'm just going to get another marker pen, which no, I do have a thicker one of that. I do have a thicker one, but I don't think I've got any ink in it. Let me just have a look. Shh. Let me just see if I've got any ink in this one. No, I don't have any ink. And it looks like I've got blue ink in that one. Alfie, be good. Alfie, be good. This is the next size up. Oh, that's, yeah. I haven't looked in that for about 5 years. So I need to clean these. I've just dug them out, actually, but I did think. Alfie, be quiet. Be a good boy. It's the part 3. Yeah, there's nothing in these. That's naughty, Alfie. I'm just looking for a pen. I don't think he's going to let me. I don't think he's going to let me. Right. Anyway, I go over the lines and do it slightly differently. So thanks for watching. I hope it's been a little bit of inspiration, and thanks for watching. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful afternoon. Alfie, yes. Alfie, yes. It's not letting me do what I want to do. Be quiet. Yes, I know.